A millionaire kicked his pregnant wife in front of all his friends and thought no one would ever know the truth. But the woman he broke that night didn't stay broken. She rose from the hospital bed he put her in, carrying nothing but grief, a scar across her body, and a plan sharper than every lie he ever told. And when she came back for him, she didn't want half of his empire. She wanted to watch him crumble with her daughter's name still ringing in his ears. Before we dive into today's story, take a moment to let us know where you're watching from. We love seeing how our stories bring people together from all over the world. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Now, let's get started. The music was loud enough to shake the glass walls of the penthouse, but not loud enough to drown the sound that would soon end everything. Logan Gates, millionaire, golden boy of L.A. real estate, king of this 60-floor palace, held court in the center of his private party. Champagne flowed. His closest friends laughed too loudly at his jokes, and the city glittered beneath their feet like it existed just to applaud him. And then there was Selina Hathaway, pregnant, exhausted, and trying her best to smile so she wouldn't ruin the celebration her husband needed more than he needed air. She rested a hand on her stomach, feeling the weight of both her child and her silence. Logan wrapped an arm around her briefly for show, then drifted back to his circle of admirers, soaked in his own spotlight. It happened in an instant. One of Logan's friends, already drunk, nudged him and joked, "Man, Selina's been working with Ethan a lot. Those two just click, huh?" The comment was meaningless to everyone else. But Logan's smile thinned. His eyes flashed with a familiar, poisonous doubt. He looked at Selina like he was seeing her for the first time, and not in a good way. She stepped aside to check a message from a contractor, a simple work text. But Logan stormed toward her, ripped the phone out of her hand, and held it up like evidence. The music died. Conversations froze. "Who are you texting? Ethan, right?" His voice cut through the room like a blade. Selina's cheeks burned as every pair of eyes turned toward her. She tried to guide Logan away from the crowd, whispering, "Stop, you're drunk, let's talk outside." But her attempt to calm him only fed his paranoia. "Why?" he snarled. "So you can hide something?" His words slurred, but the fury behind them was sharp and deliberate. And then, the words that made the air collapse. "Is that child even mine?" Gasps rippled across the room. Some guests looked away in embarrassment. Others stared at Selina, waiting for her to explode or crumble. But Selina did neither. She rose slowly, steadying herself. "Everything you have," she said, her voice trembling but clear. "My money built it. My name opened the doors you brag about. And you dare accuse me while I'm carrying your child?" It hit Logan's pride like a slap to the soul. His face contorted wounded ego, mixing with alcohol, insecurity, and the humiliation of being challenged in front of people he needed to impress. His friends watched in uneasy silence, unsure whether to intervene. And then it happened. Logan lunged toward her. Before anyone could move, he swung his leg and drove his foot into Selina's stomach. The crack of impact echoed against the marble floors. Selina's body folded before she collapsed, her hands clutching her belly, a dark stain already spreading through her dress. Someone screamed. Someone else shouted for an ambulance. A glass shattered in the corner as a guest dropped it in shock. Logan froze, staring down at what he had done as if his brain refused to process it. He knelt beside her, not out of love, but panic. "She slipped," he muttered. "The floor's wet." She slipped. He barked orders at his staff. "Turn off the cameras. Delete the footage. Nobody says a word. This was an accident. Do you understand?" But no one responded. They were all staring at the woman bleeding on the floor. Paramedics arrived minutes later. As they lifted Selina onto the stretcher, her face had gone gray, her breathing shallow. Logan hovered nearby, torn between fear of losing her and terror of losing his reputation. The elevator doors closed around her, leaving Logan standing in the ruins of his own celebration, surrounded by the silence of people who had just witnessed the truth. None of them knew yet that the kick they saw had ended a child's life, and none of them knew that it had awakened something far more dangerous in Selina Hathaway, something that would soon come for Logan with precision he could never outrun. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and midnight. Selina lay unconscious under the harsh white lights of the operating room while doctors moved around her in urgent, clipped motions. Machines beeped, gloves snapped. The room pulsed with a single question. Could they save her and the baby? Outside, Logan sat gripping his hair, pacing the same 10 steps over and over. A man who had kicked his pregnant wife now pretended to be a husband, terrified for her life. But his trembling had less to do with love and more with fear. Fear of headlines, fear of witnesses, fear of consequences. When the doctor finally emerged, her face carried the weight of news no parent should hear. "We did everything we could," she said. "But the baby didn't make it." Logan staggered back dramatically, whispering, "No, no," as if someone were filming him. The doctor watched him carefully, sensing something off, but before she could question it, she was called back inside. Selena woke hours later to the soft voice of her mother, Gloria Washington. "Sweetheart, I'm here." Selena's hand drifted weakly to her stomach, and before Gloria could finish the sentence, Selena knew. The emptiness inside her was louder than any scream. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She did not cry. She did not shake. Her eyes simply turned hollow, as if the world had fallen away from her and left nothing but a void. When the second blow came, it did not land on her body but her future. The doctor explained gently. "We had to perform a hysterectomy to stop the bleeding. You can no longer carry a child," Gloria sobbed. Selena did not. Later, Logan appeared outside her room, rehearsing his remorse like a monologue. "It was an accident," he told the nurses. "I slipped, she slipped, it was chaos." He begged to see Selena, but Gloria blocked the doorway, her voice shaking with fury. "You will not go near her." Inside, Selena stared at the wall, replaying the kick, the sharp pain, the warmth of blood on her legs. And then, the doctor's word. She was a girl. Her daughter. Her Aria. Something inside Selena hardened. Grief sharpened into a blade. When she asked her mother to retrieve the black portfolio from her home office, Gloria didn't question it. She simply brought it. Inside were the documents Selena had almost forgotten. She possessed contracts, property titles, corporate filings, and one fact became clear. Logan's empire existed because of her. Her financial credibility, her inheritance, her signature. He thought he owned everything, but legally she owned almost all of it. As Selena flipped through page after page, the numbness in her chest shifted into something cold and precise. She pressed her palm to her abdomen, whispering her daughter's name like a promise. Logan had taken her child, her future, her ability to be a mother, but he had no idea he had also handed her the power to destroy him, and she was done being the quiet woman standing behind a powerful man. It was time for Logan Gates to learn what it felt like to lose everything. Selena left the hospital with slow, measured steps, her body healing but her spirit sharpened to something unrecognizable. The woman who arrived here bleeding and broken was gone. The one who stepped out carried a cold, steady purpose. Her mother, Gloria, followed closely behind, worry etched across her face. "Where are you going, sweetheart?" she asked. Selena didn't look back. "To meet someone," she said softly, as if the words tasted like steel. She slid into the back seat of the car and ordered the driver to take her to Michelle Winfrey's office in New York. The drive was a blur of rain against glass and a skyline that never slept. When Selena entered the building, a quiet, stone-lined tower tucked between louder pieces of the financial district, she immediately sensed the shift. This place felt nothing like Logan's world of flashy deals and louder promises. It was still, controlled. Dangerous, in the way a sharpened blade is dangerous. As she walked through the hallway, young attorneys stood at attention, their expressions respectful, almost reverent. They knew exactly who she was, and more importantly, they knew whom she had come for. When Michelle Winfrey finally appeared, she didn't extend her hand or force a smile. She simply studied Selena with calm, penetrating eyes, as if she could already read everything written inside her. Michelle led her into a private room. Selena sat, placed the black portfolio on the table, and opened it without ceremony. Document after document slid across the polished surface: property titles, financial statements, company ownership filings, quiet evidence of Logan's greed and carelessness. Michelle flipped through each page with an unhurried confidence that made Selena believe she had come to the right place. Nothing surprised her. Nothing unsettled her. She had seen the sins of powerful men 1,000 times before. But when Selena finally spoke about the kick, about collapsing on the cold marble floor, about losing her daughter and her ability to ever carry another child, Michelle lowered her pen and looked directly into her eyes. There was no pity in her gaze, only recognition. It was the look of someone who had helped many women rise from the ashes of men like Logan Gates. Selena's voice did not waver when she revealed her goal. She didn't want half of anything. She didn't want a simple divorce or a public apology or a settlement large enough to buy her silence. "I want him to lose everything," she said. "His company, his power, his image, and I want him to live the rest of his life knowing he destroyed his own child." Michelle leaned back slightly, letting the weight of the declaration settle between them. "Then you've come to the right person," she said. She outlined the weaknesses in Logan's empire, the shell companies, the off-book transfers, the personal charges hidden in corporate accounts. "He built a house of glass," she said calmly. "All we have to do is choose where to throw the first stone." Selena listened, silent but resolute. She understood now why she had not cried since the night she lost Arya. Grief had not abandoned her. It had simply taken a different form, one that sharpened her choices and anchored her resolve. Michelle slid a secure contract across the table. "If you sign this," she said, "we don't go halfway. We go for total collapse." Selena picked up the pen without hesitation. "I want him at 0. When the contract was complete, Michelle offered the faintest hint of a smile. "Then we begin." Outside, the rain had thickened into a misty curtain. Selena stepped out from under the canopy and let a few drops hit her face. She pressed a hand to her abdomen, an empty place that once held her entire future. "You'll have justice," she whispered to Arya, to the memory that guided her now, and with that, she turned toward the storm she intended to unleash. Logan wandered through the penthouse like a ghost pacing the ruins of a kingdom. The aftermath of the party had spread far beyond spilled champagne. Whispers had begun to circulate through circles that once praised him. Some articles hinted at an incident, though no one dared print details. His friends stopped returning calls. His reflection looked unfamiliar, eyes hollow, jaw tight, fear tucked beneath every breath. He checked his phone constantly, waiting for Selena to answer even one message. She didn't. She didn't take his calls, didn't respond to the letters he sent through assistants, didn't even send a nurse to tell him to leave her alone. That silence unnerved him more than the memory of what he'd done. A man like Logan could fight anger, accusations, even public humiliation, but silence, pure, unwavering silence, was a battlefield he didn't know how to survive. At night he lay awake imagining Selena in another man's home, another man's arms. Ethan Reynolds' name flashed again and again in his mind like a warning light. He pictured them whispering, laughing, planning a future without him. It wasn't real. But fear rarely cared about reality. Then, one morning, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "She's safe with me. Stop looking." Logan felt something inside him crack. It wasn't the words, it was the certainty that Ethan had sent them. He paced the room, shaking, replaying every glance and conversation he had ever seen between Ethan and Selena. Suddenly the entire world seemed like a conspiracy designed to take her away from him. Meanwhile, Selena remained silent. She didn't need to fight him face to face. Michelle had already explained. Emotional unraveling was the first necessary step, and Logan, fueled by jealousy and ego, walked right into the trap. Within days, the signs escalated. A bouquet of roses arrived at Selena's office with a card that read, "For the strongest woman I know." Logan intercepted the delivery notification and felt his stomach twist. Then came a reservation confirmation for a 2-person dinner at a luxury restaurant under Selena's name. That evening, a server approached Logan at another venue, apologizing for the mix-up and handing him a champagne receipt, "Your guest already paid for." Each small detail sliced at his already deteriorating sanity. He stormed into meetings late, distracted, smelling faintly of alcohol. He questioned employees aggressively, demanded reports that didn't exist, and fired a junior analyst for withholding information when she simply didn't know anything about his invented theories. Investors began to step back. His assistant whispered to another staff member, "He's losing it." From a quiet hospital window, Selena observed every update Michelle delivered. Logan's public image, once polished to a shine, was beginning to tarnish. The board noticed, the investors noticed, and more importantly, Logan noticed. But Selena did not smile. She did not savor his unraveling. She simply recorded each detail in a journal with calm precision. She had no intention of letting emotion disrupt the architecture of her revenge. Late one night, Logan sat alone on the penthouse balcony, staring at the city lights while his phone lay on the table beside him. A single notification glowed on the screen, the same unknown number. He opened the message. "Truth is hardest to see when you don't know what's real." Logan whispered into the empty air. "Who's with her? Who is she with?" His voice trembled, almost pleading. Across the city, Selena closed her journal, set down her pen, and looked out into the same night. "When he can no longer tell real from fake," she wrote, "that's when I begin taking back what is mine." And with that, the mind games truly began. The Westford Hotel glittered like a palace that night, its chandeliers casting gold over the most powerful people in real estate. The annual gala was the event everyone fought to be invited to, a place where deals worth hundreds of millions were whispered over champagne and reputations were polished like diamonds under camera lights. For years, Logan Gates had been the star of that room, the prodigy millionaire, who rose from nothing to build a luxury empire with his stunning architect wife. Reporters loved him. Investors trusted him. He used to walk in with Selena on his arm, the perfect picture of power and partnership. Tonight, he walked in alone. The moment he appeared, subtle murmurs followed him. People glanced around as if expecting Selena to trail behind him. When she didn't, curiosity thickened. A few reporters raised cameras but lowered them again, sensing something was off. Logan lifted his chin, forcing calm into his body, but the confidence he once wore effortlessly felt brittle, like a suit one size too tight. He tried to mingle. He laughed at jokes. He shook hands. But every time someone whispered the name Ethan Reynolds, a bolt of panic shot through him. He scanned the room constantly, terrified someone had heard about the incident at the penthouse. A handful of investors offered stiff smiles but quickly drifted away, wary of the rumors about Logan's unstable behavior and the wife who was suddenly nowhere to be seen. He held a glass of scotch he couldn't taste, just to keep his hands from trembling. Then the first blow struck. Scarlett Stone, dressed in a crimson gown and perfectly coached by Michelle Winfrey, floated toward him with a wide, affectionate smile. Before Logan could step back, she threw her arms around him and squealed loudly enough for nearby guests to turn. "Logan, where have you been hiding?" she asked. "I haven't heard from you since Miami. That weekend was unforgettable." Heads swiveled, cameras lifted. Logan jerked away from her, horrified. "I don't know you," he whispered harshly. "Please, step back." Scarlett's eyes watered instantly, her voice trembling. "Wow, so you're pretending now, in front of all these people?" A circle formed around them. Phones rose discreetly to record. Logan felt his chest tighten. "I'm telling you, I have never." But Scarlett was already turning away dramatically, dabbing at her eyes as if heartbroken, making sure every onlooker saw. Before Logan could recover, the second strike hit even harder. Mr. Eastwood, an older, well-connected businessman, strode up and slapped Logan on the back. "Logan, my boy, heard you've been having quite a time in Paris, too." He grinned, voice intentionally loud. "Next time, introduce me to that young lady of yours. I could use a good vacation." The South African investor standing nearby froze mid-sentence. His polite smile vanished. He excused himself abruptly, taking his assistant and his potential investment with him. Logan felt sweat gather on the back of his neck. His mouth went dry. His carefully curated public image, the one he protected more fiercely than anything, was cracking open in front of everyone. He stammered, "That's not true. None of that is true. They're lying, listen, all of you." But the damage had already spread. Whispers rippled outward like wildfire. A millionaire cheating while his pregnant wife was in the hospital. A secret girlfriend. A hidden trip to Miami. Another in Paris. Videos of Scarlett's performance were already hitting social media with captions designed to ruin him. Logan's voice rose in desperation. "Please, I don't know these women." But no one listened. No one cared. Scandal was more interesting than innocence, especially from a man who had built his empire on charisma and illusion. Across the city, Selena sat in her quiet apartment as Michelle forwarded her a report. "Everything unfolded as planned," Michelle wrote. Selena read it without blinking. Her face remained still, serene, untouched by either joy or pity. She closed her phone gently. This was just step 2. Meanwhile, Logan stumbled out of the gala in a haze of humiliation. He slid into the back seat of a taxi, his hands shaking so violently he had to hold them together. His phone buzzed. A message from the same unknown number that had been haunting him. "You fell apart tonight. She deserves a man who wouldn't." Who faced? Logan pressed the phone to his forehead and sobbed in the darkness, unaware that this was only the beginning of his unraveling. In Michelle Winfrey's private conference room, the atmosphere crackled with quiet intensity. A massive board lay across the table, covered in notes, arrows, timelines, and highlighted financial trails. Selena sat opposite Michelle, her posture chilled and composed, the same way she would study a blueprint before tearing down a structure that wasn't meant to stand. Michelle tapped the board lightly. "Every empire collapses because of one weak joint," she said. "Logan built dozens." Selena leaned in, eyes sharp. "Then let's break them all." Their investigation began immediately. A forensic accountant, one of Michelle's most trusted allies, had already started tracing Logan's offshore movements. The findings were staggering. Funds linked to Hathaway and Gates Realty Group had been shuffled into accounts in Cayman, Belize, and Nevada. Several were under the names of distant cousins Logan barely spoke to. Others were disguised as consulting fees, shell company transfers, or fraudulent vendor payments. Michelle slid the printed reports toward Selena. "This alone is enough to bury him legally. But we're not stopping here." Selena turned the pages methodically, her face unchanged as she examined expense lists showcasing sports cars, private getaways, and personal indulgences, all charged to company accounts. Logan had treated the business like his personal wallet, believing no one would ever dare question him. The next revelation cut even deeper. Michelle held up a familiar document. "This penthouse, you know, the one he loves showing off. He never changed the ownership. It's yours, completely." Selena blinked once, absorbing the weight of it. Logan had spent years parading the penthouse as a testament to his success, never imagining the legal tie still bound it to her name. "He won't survive losing that," Michelle added. But Selena was thinking of something else, not the penthouse, but the years she had allowed Logan to shine while quietly holding together the legal backbone of their empire. Those memories now felt like shards she was finally using to cut free. As more evidence surfaced, it became clear Logan had no idea how exposed he truly was. He had operated recklessly, assuming Selena's loyalty was guaranteed, assuming the company would always shield him. Now, those assumptions were becoming the very tools used against him. In the days that followed, Logan began sensing pressure in places he didn't expect. A bank requested updated tax documents. The internal audit team called an emergency meeting. His personal attorney, confused by the sudden inquiries, left him multiple voicemails asking what trouble he had gotten himself into. Then came another message from the unknown number. "The worst part is not knowing which mistake is destroying you." Logan didn't sleep that night. Meanwhile, Selena and Michelle compiled the final packet, a thick, undeniable dossier of fraud, embezzlement, misconduct, and abuse of authority. Every page tightened the noose around Logan's career, his reputation, and his financial future. Selena placed her hand on the completed stack, her voice soft but unwavering. "He kicked me in front of his friends," she said. "Now I'm kicking him out of the life he thinks he built." Michelle nodded. "We're ready for the board meeting." Selena inhaled deeply, steady but fierce. For the first time since the hospital, she felt something other than grief. Not joy, not satisfaction, control. The next phase of her revenge was about to begin. Logan barely slept the night before. Every time he shut his eyes, he imagined headlines, imagined whispers, imagined losing everything he had clawed and schemed to build. So when the email arrived at dawn emergency board meeting, attendance required, his stomach twisted so violently he had to grip the counter to stay upright. He called the chairman of the investment group 3 times, but the only response he received was from a secretary who spoke in a clipped voice. "They're reviewing several concerns at the moment. He can't speak right now. Tenemy." By the time Logan reached the company building, employees greeted him not with respect, but with sidelong glances and stiff nods. No one met his eyes for more than a heartbeat. It felt as if they all knew something he didn't yet. He walked into the boardroom a few minutes early, hoping to regain control of the situation. But when he saw the empty chair at the end of the long oak table, the chair his wife had once occupied during early years of the company, he felt a sudden, inexplicable dread. Then she arrived. Selena entered the room with the practiced calm of someone who had already accepted the outcome of this day. Michelle Winfrey walked beside her, carrying a thick, meticulously organized binder, every page inside a weapon. The board members rose to greet Selena, some with genuine respect, others with relief, as if a stabilizing force had finally returned. For the first time in weeks, Logan realized that he did not understand the room he was standing in. The meeting began without ceremony. Michelle stepped forward, her demeanor as sharp and steady as a surgeon preparing for a precise incision. "We are here," she said, "because we have evidence that Logan Gates has misappropriated company funds, falsified financial records, and used corporate assets for personal gain. Multiple offenses fall under criminal misconduct." The whispering started immediately. Logan shot to his feet, sputtering, "What evidence? This is absurd. She's being manipulated." But Michelle didn't even look at him. "Sit down, Mr. Gates." Her voice was cool enough to slice clean through his outrage. Selina remained silent, her expression unreadable, her hands folded neatly on the table. Her presence alone felt like judgment. Michelle opened the binder and began presenting the evidence. Each item hit the room like a blow. Transaction spreadsheets highlighted in red, showing funds rerouted to offshore accounts. Receipts for a sports car billed as a client development expense. A luxury yacht purchased entirely with company funds. Documents tying Logan to shell companies created to hide failing investments. Every page pulled another layer off the man Logan pretended to be. He tried to defend himself. "This is taken out of context. My accountant handled that. Ask him. Someone forged signatures, but every signature was his. Every document traced back to him. Every lie he attempted only exposed the desperation underneath." Then Michelle presented the final piece, the penthouse deed, officially registered under Selina Hathaway's name. Logan's face drained of color. He looked at Selina, broken, betrayed by his own arrogance. He had believed she would never turn against him. He had believed she existed to support him. That belief was now destroying him. The board members stared at the screen in disbelief. One finally said aloud what everyone was thinking. "We can't let this continue. The company cannot be endangered by one man's misconduct." Logan reached for dignity he no longer possessed. "I can fix this. Just give me a chance." No one responded. The vote was swift and merciless, 4-1. The only vote in his favor was his own. Logan Gates was officially removed as CEO, his authority revoked, his access terminated, his influence severed. Selina was appointed interim CEO. The investors nodded in agreement, some even offering her encouraging smiles. They trusted her expertise. They trusted her leadership. They trusted her integrity, everything Logan had lost. Logan lunged toward her then, a last attempt to reclaim some part of the life slipping away. "Selina, please, you want to destroy me? I love you." She stepped back, not out of fear, but clarity. "You love power," she said quietly. "You loved what I gave you, not who I was." Security moved in. Logan's feet scraped against the floor as they dragged him toward the door, his voice echoing in the room, raw and desperate. Selina watched without blinking. When the door closed, she took the CEO seat. The leather felt warm under her hands, like a crown reclaimed rather than stolen. Michelle reached over and placed a hand on her shoulder. "That was only the money," she murmured. "Now comes the part that hurts him." Selina nodded, eyes steady. She was ready. Logan had nothing left except the belief that home would save him. After being expelled from his own boardroom, humiliated in front of people who once worshipped him, he rushed to the penthouse as if crossing its threshold might reset everything, like stepping into a past life where he still had control, still had respect, still had Selina. He ran his keycard through the lock. It beeped red. He tried again, pressing harder, as though force could override reality. Red again. Panic rippled through him. He slammed his hand against the door, shouting for Selina, shouting for anyone. His voice echoed down the pristine marble hallway, drawing the attention of residents, stepping off elevators and passing by. Some recognized him. They didn't smile. A security officer approached with a folder in hand. "Mr. Gates?" Logan turned, wild-eyed. "Open the door. My wife is inside." The officer shook his head. "This is for you, sir." Inside the envelope was a legal notice. Restraining order. Notice of eviction. Official transfer of property rights, confirming the penthouse belonged entirely to Selina Hathaway. He stared at the words, unable to decode them at first. "There must be a mistake. I paid for this. I live here. This is my home." The officer's voice softened, not with sympathy, but with routine professionalism. "Sir, you are required to vacate within 24 hours. You may return tomorrow under escort to collect personal items." grated. Logan sank to his knees in the hallway. Residents skirted around him, whispering, pitying, judging. This was the same man who once swaggered through these halls, who boasted about his success, who looked down on anyone earning less than 7 figures. Now he sat collapsed against the door he could no longer open. Inside, on the other side of that door, Selena stood perfectly still. She didn't watch him through the peephole. She didn't need to. His voice carried clearly. His grief, his disbelief, his unraveling echoed through the walls. She let each sound pass over her like a tide. She felt no triumph, only certainty. He would never again use this home or her to uphold the illusion of power. When Logan was finally escorted out of the building, everything he owned was reduced to what he could carry. Without access to company funds, his credit cards were declined one by one. The penthouse had never been his. The business had slipped through his fingers. His reputation was in shreds. He checked into a hotel that night, but after a few days of unpaid bills and frozen accounts, he found himself forced into a cramped, mold-scented apartment, far from the world he used to rule. He stared at the peeling paint, the thin walls, the flickering light. The silence felt like punishment. His mind deteriorated rapidly. Every phone vibration made him jump. Every unknown number made him sweat. He saw shadows in corners, convinced someone was following him, convinced Ethan had won, convinced Selena was laughing somewhere, wrapped in the arms of another man. Meanwhile, Selena met with Michelle again in her new office, Logan's old office. Michelle explained the latest update. Investors were distancing themselves from him, banks were reviewing suspicious transfers, and several legal departments were quietly preparing inquiries. Selena listened calmly. "He needs to understand what it's like to lose everything," she said. "Like I did, Tree." Michelle studied her a moment. "Are you ready to face him when the time comes?" Selena nodded. "He deserves to hear the truth from me." That night, Logan lay on his thin mattress, staring at the cracked ceiling, hollowed out by every loss. His phone lit up beside him. One last message from the number that had haunted him. When a man has nothing left, that's when truth finds him. Logan's fingers trembled as he read it. Across the city, in the shadowed interior of an abandoned industrial building she had recently purchased, Selena stood alone. The place was quiet, empty, waiting. She was ready for the final confrontation, and Logan, ruined, frightened, lost, was finally ready to hear the truth. The envelope arrived at Logan's crumbling apartment like a message from a ghost. No return address, no signature, just a plain card inside with a single line written in black ink. 3 p.m. 1450 Warehouse District. Come if you want the truth. He stared at the words, fingers trembling, his mind racing with the possibility maybe Selena wanted to hear him out. Maybe he could salvage something. Maybe forgiveness was still within reach. He grabbed the only shirt without holes, washed his face in the cracked sink, and rushed out the door as if running toward a miracle. The warehouse rose from the empty district like an abandoned cathedral, gray steel, high windows, and a silence heavy enough to echo. He stepped inside and froze. Sunlight cut through the rafters, forming pale rectangular beams on the concrete floors. In the center of the vast room stood Selena. She wore a white dress simple as bone, her posture calm, her expression unreadable. She looked like the verdict he'd been trying to avoid since the night everything shattered. "Selena," he breathed, hope cracking through his voice. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I lost control. I never meant to hurt you." But the apology dissolved in the air. Selena did not flinch, did not blink, did not soften. She watched him as if cataloging a stranger. He took one step closer, desperate. "Please say something." When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet, almost gentle, yet each syllable landed with surgical precision. "Do you know why you lost everything, Logan?" He swallowed hard. "Because you wanted revenge." She shook her head. "No, you lost everything because you built it on lies. I only turned on the lights." Then the truth began to unfold, piece by piece, with a clarity that stripped him bare. The anonymous texts, the flowers, the stage scenes, the rumors, the silence, the unraveling of his finances, the strategic timing of every hit. "You thought the world suddenly betrayed you," she said. "But it was just me. One person. The woman you underestimated." Logan's knees buckled. All of this, for one mistake? Selena stepped closer, her eyes colder than any anger he had imagined. You call it a mistake? You kicked your pregnant wife so hard she lost her child. You killed our daughter, Logan, and you're asking why. The words punched the air from his lungs. He staggered back, shaking his head like a man refusing his own reflection. I didn't know. I didn't realize. You didn't ask, she whispered. Not even once. Create. From her pocket, she pulled a tiny wooden elephant, smooth and warm from being held so many times. She placed it in his trembling hand. I bought this for her. Logan stared at the toy as if it were burning him. Then his chest collapsed inward, and a broken sound escaped him. Selena, please. Her gaze did not waver. Her name was Aria Monroe. Logan clutched the elephant, tears soaking the wood. Selena continued, her voice thread-thin but unshakable. Our daughter, and you ended her life because your pride was more important than your family. He crumpled to the ground, sobbing, the echo of his grief filling the empty warehouse. Selena turned away, her steps light but resolute. She did not look back. The door shut behind her with a slow, final thud like the last nail sealing the coffin of the life he once claimed. When Selena opened the doors to the penthouse again, the city stretched beneath her in warm amber light, the sunset washing Los Angeles in hues of gold and rust. She stood before the towering glass panels, taking in a skyline she once shared with Logan, once dreamed she would show her daughter. Now it felt like a memory she could observe without sinking into it. She had crossed a threshold inside herself, somewhere past grief, past rage, toward something quieter. She walked to the small wooden box she kept hidden in her bedroom drawer. Inside lay the remaining elephant figurine, its twin now clenched in Logan's hands. Somewhere in that dim apartment he'd turned into a shrine of regret. There was also a small folded note with Aria's name written in Selena's graceful handwriting. She touched it softly. Everything I did, she whispered. I did for you. Michelle arrived later that evening with the final updates. Logan was facing multiple lawsuits from investors, IRS investigations, frozen accounts, blacklisted in the industry. He had become a cautionary tale, a man who lost his empire and his sanity in a single season. He's not going anywhere, Michelle said. He barely leaves his apartment. Selena nodded. Good. Then it's enough. Across the city, Logan sat in his dark room, the curtains drawn tight, the air stale. The wooden elephant was worn now, edges softened by the constant pressure of his grip. He rocked slightly as he whispered Aria's name again and again, not with hope, but with a kind of haunted devotion. His punishment was not death. It was a lifetime of remembering the moment he destroyed the one thing that could never be returned. Selena, meanwhile, began to build something new. She sold part of her assets and founded the Aria Monroe Foundation, dedicated to helping children affected by domestic violence. It was a quiet way of giving her daughter a legacy, one untouched by the man who took her away. She signed the foundation documents with steady hands, feeling a small, firm peace settle in her chest. Healing did not come quickly, but it came honestly. Selena attended therapy, wrote each night in her journal, spent afternoons with her mother, and rebuilt her routines slowly, deliberately. She did not rush toward love or chase new beginnings. She simply lived fully, intentionally, something she had forgotten how to do. One evening, she returned to the penthouse balcony. The city glimmered beneath her like scattered stars, its hum gentle and alive. She placed her hand against her abdomen, no longer a home for the child she lost, but still a place of memory, of meaning. A soft breeze moved through her hair as she whispered, Aria, I'm done now. You can rest. Her reflection in the glass looked strong, centered, unbroken. Not because she had destroyed Logan, but because she had reclaimed herself. She had walked through the fire and emerged with scars, but also with an unshakable sense of who she was. As the last light of day faded, Selena Hathaway stood on the 61st floor, no longer defined by pain, but by the strength it carved into her. She wasn't beginning a new chapter. She was beginning a new life. Even on the darkest nights, when it feels like everything familiar has fallen apart, there is still a small light waiting to be found. Sometimes it's not loud or grand, it's just the quiet decision to stand back up, breathe again, and take the next step forward. Strength doesn't always look heroic. Often, it's simply choosing not to let pain become the end of your story. If you're listening to this right now, maybe on a long evening drive, or while the rain taps against your window, tell me in the comments how this moment feels for you. And if these stories stay with you, I'd love for you to subscribe so we can keep walking through them together. On quiet days like this, when the air feels a little softer and the world finally stops rushing, you're reminded that life doesn't always fall apart to break you. Sometimes it falls apart so you can rebuild it with hands that know their own strength. What's lost isn't the ending. It's the clearing for something kinder to grow. If this story found you at the right moment, maybe on a late-night drive, or while the rain taps softly on your window, tell me what part stayed with you. I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories that sit close to the heart, feel free to subscribe. Your presence here means more than you know.